I don't think though, Madam Chair, you don't have a quorum as of yet.
Understood.
All right, you should be good to go.
Excellent. So I am just pulling this up to make sure I have everything in front of me. I'm sorry, I have too many screens going, as I'm sure you all know the feeling. So we'll start with roll call. Commissioner Seworth present.
Commissioner Levitt present.
Commissioner
Magdalena
present.
present.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Cleveland Horton, Executive Director, present. And Yolanda Sommelier, Deputy Director, is present as well.
Thank you. Spencer, Alicia.
Good morning, everyone. Alicia Bell, Supervisor, Enforcement Supervisor.
Here I have myself on mute. Spencer Dove, Assistant to the Executive Director, present.
And we do have Nicolette and Candace are both in leadership training today. So they will not be here with us today. But if there are any questions for either of their reports, I will do my best to answer them for you all. But if not, I will follow up with them and have them provide you all with a response.
Thank you.
No problem.
I do not see any members of the public that have joined us today. And the
No,
thing,
no members of the public, Madam Chair.
great. Then I will move on to my report. We may get done in time today, so who knows? And of course I lost my thing. So I just wanted to start off by sort of acknowledging the significant and rapid changes that are occurring across the federal level and even at the state level, specifically regarding civil rights protections. These changes include multiple executive orders at the federal level, which relate to a wide swath of issues from gender identity and transgender rights, healthcare that relate to those issues, implementing policies related to transgender in sports. Additionally, DEI initiatives across federal agencies and also across private organizations that are influenced by federal funding are being scaled back or eliminated. Other actions include expanding religious exemptions from non-discrimination requirements, creating a task force to address alleged anti-Christian bias, and implementing additional measures to combat anti-Semitism, particularly on college campuses. There's also been extensive federal activity concerning undocumented individuals and those seeking to migrate to the United States. And what's really important about this is the pace and scope of these changes make it really challenging for us to fully assess their impact on us and our communities, professionally and personally. Again, at the state level, Maryland legislation session is underway, and we anticipate civil rights related policy shifts, albeit at a slower pace, some of which may be responsive to or supportive of the activities that are occurring at the federal level. And additionally, budget constraints that are facing the state and its agencies are also providing challenges to us that affect civil rights protections and enforcement. I just want to say during this period of uncertainty and turbulence, our commitment to protecting and advancing the civil rights of all Marylanders must remain steadfast. I know I've done this before and I'd like to do it again, especially under these circumstances, and just check in with our commissioners and staff and see how everyone's doing during this turbulent time. Is everybody okay?
Good on my end, Madam Chair.
Irene,
Thanks for the check-in.
Yes. I'm just immersing myself in funny dog memes.
understood.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them, and if you like them and you continue to like them, more will appear on your Facebook feed, and to the point where that is all you see. I highly recommend it.
Good mental wellness.
Yeah,
Self-care.
that's all I'm saying,
I would like to ask if the commission has received any more comments or critics or people reaching out because they need information or they have been discriminated at work. Have they been increased numbers of people reaching out to the commission?
We have seen an uptick in a number of inquiries coming into our agency. All of them obviously don't fall within our wheelhouse. But we are just seeing, as you all are seeing, right, an increased level of uncertainty for a number of folks. We are also receiving a number of calls from federal employees. Unfortunately, we can't help those federal employees because we don't have authority over that. But it is one of the biggest things that we are beginning to see. So we are trying through our education outreach efforts to really just reassure folks that the protections here in the state have not changed. We still have our full enforcement authority, and we still are here committed and dedicated to utilizing that enforcement authority to the full extent of the law. So we did issue a statement in regards to that. We are working with other state agencies to develop some kind of know your rights materials that I'll talk a little bit about in my report. But really, we are actively trying to engage in any and everything that we can to get the messaging out to the public, to reassure the public. We think during this time, it is ever so important for us to control the narrative, right? As we hear the narrative coming from the federal administration, it is our responsibility to make sure that we're telling our story and not allowing other individuals to tell the story for us. So we, as we just had our Protecting Civil Rights During Challenging Times symposium, part of that was to do exactly that, is to control the narrative, to get the information out to the public, the individuals that need it, those underserved and marginalized communities, just to kind of reassure folks that we are here to make sure that everybody's rights are protected as we kind of navigate through these challenging times.
If I may say, to answer what you just mentioned, Cleveland, there is a lot of uncertainty within the federal workforce, and people do not understand their rights. So I'm glad that they are reaching out to the commission. It would be nice to see if from the administration and even OPM, who is the one that gives the rights for the federal workers, what really are their rights, and they're very unsure.
Yeah.
So if you find something like that you could post on the website, I think it would be very useful.
There was actually here, I want to say there was a meeting, I want to say maybe last week out in Howard County, with, I think it actually was at Howard Community College right after we had our symposium that dealt with federal workers specifically, and what their rights were. So as we hear that information, I just happened to catch it on the news. I didn't know about it ahead of time, but as we get information like that, we'll absolutely make sure that we are, again, relaying that message out to the public so individuals know, just from a resource standpoint, what are other resources and support mechanisms that they can utilize, again, because we don't have authority over federal employees.
But also,
just-
the Maryland Washington Employment Lawyers Association, I'm a member of that organization, and I see on their website, a lot of them are getting a lot of cases, federal cases, and they are providing services and representation and information to federal employees. And most of those lawyers, those attorneys are down in the Prince George's, Montgomery County area. So they too are providing information and representation to some of these lawsuits you see that have been filed, that have gotten injunctions. They have been a part of it, as well as the Legal Defense Fund and the ACLU.
With these freezes happening, does that impact the EEOC agreement that the Maryland Civil Rights Commission has and the
So-
ability to draw down those funds?
Yeah, so right now we haven't been impacted fiscally as of yet. We are, I want to say eagerly, but we are anxiously awaiting to see what the impact will be, not just to EEOC, but also to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, to see. So if there is any significant reduction in their budgets, we would anticipate that reduction will be passed on to us as a FEPA or us as a FAP. So we are working as a leadership team now, talking about contingency plans, working with the administration, because there may be a need for us to submit a supplemental in order to, again, counter any significant reduction in federal funds. So that's really what we're waiting for now. We haven't, from a freeze standpoint, obviously we know that that's going through litigation right now, right? So that's actually not in play at the moment. but we do anticipate moving forward. So our concern is he may not be able to impact our current contract with EOC or HUD, but this administration may be able to impact the next contract, right? Because every year we renew. And if there is a freeze or a halt on federal funds pending us signing a new contract, then that might be where the impact will be. Addition to that, if the federal administration does reduce the overall budget for EEOC or HUD, then we could also see a reduction in our federal funds that way. So we could get hit two different ways. So we are bracing ourselves to kind of figure out what that would look like and how we would maneuver around that fiscally if those things would happen.
Because honestly, that's my biggest concern when I see all this, because even though there's litigation that says you can't do that, I've just been reading, and again, this is what happens when I leave my dog memes, that that it's still think contracts that are in force are not being honored.
Yeah, correct. So right now we haven't had that issue fiscally. We did get notice from HUD that they're going through a different process now in terms of when we do request reimbursement, there is a separate approval process now, but we haven't been denied any reimbursements as of yet through that process.
Okay.
No, you doing okay?
Just taking it day by day. Unfortunately, all of my former colleagues at USAID have been laid off and are on admin leave. So I've been providing as much support to them as they process these rapid changes. So yeah.
Understood. Are you doing okay, Glendora?
Dancing as fast as I can, juggling everything.
Understood. So I'd just like to sort of sum up with saying, as these changes are going to continue to unfold rapidly, just, it is collectively through our dedication and our dedication to our mission here at the commission and to civil rights generally is just so very important. And we need to support each other as we support our communities. That's the end of my report.
Well, I'll hop in. Good morning, everybody. I do want to echo Madam Chair's sentiments. I think right now, more than ever, it's important for us to support each other. I think that, we've heard it over and over again, but we really are in different times. Most of us have never seen anything to this magnitude before. So we are kind of navigating in uncharted territory, which I think makes it even more important for us to support each other, to figure out how we become more collaborative and collective during these times, because the magnitude of work that needs to be done is impossible to do it alone. So it is very imperative for us now as we think about partners, as we think about collaborating with other organizations and agencies, that we do so in an aggressive way. As we see the federal administration, and I will give them credit for this. They had a plan and they've implemented the plan. Now is the time for us to respond accordingly with a plan, being collaborative and being collective in terms of how we address these issues that are coming through the federal administration. Fortunately, we live in what I would say a more progressive state. And we have state laws that are protecting us and allow us to protect the citizens of our great state. And we'll continue to do that. But I think it's also key for us to be mindful of those who are still being impacted directly by this federal administration. I know Commissioner Noah talked about his friends and colleagues at USAID, right? You have those individuals who are afraid, those in the immigrant communities who are afraid to come outside, who are afraid to go to work, and afraid of being deported. I was at a meeting the other night with the city of Salisbury, and there was an individual from the Haitian community that was a part of that meeting. And what he said is that they are less concerned about being deported, more concerned about where they're being deported to, right? Because they can't go back to Haiti because they're not welcome. So in fact, if they're deported back to Haiti, they are being deported back to death, right? Because they will be burned alive if they're deported back there. So we all should just be mindful that regardless of the impact that we have personally, there are individuals that are being impacted at very high levels, and we all should be mindful of that and continuously working to figure out how do we help protect individuals within our authority. So I just want us all to be mindful of that, because even though we may be good, and good in the sense that we haven't been directly impacted, the communities in which we serve are being impacted every day, and we should definitely keep that in the forefront and be mindful of that as we continue to move forward. So with that, we've had a number of events, meetings throughout the past 30 days. I'll just highlight a couple. I do want to thank Jansen, who attended our Protecting Civil Rights During Challenging Times symposium that we had on February the 1st. It was a great event. We were fortunate enough to be able to have the governor to come and provide welcome remarks to those who were in attendance. Again, just a great event, an opportunity for folks to kind of get together, to kind of fuel that uncertainty with a level of optimism and hope, right, and support as we continue to move forward. So again, it was a great event. So again, I definitely want to thank Vice Chair Jansen for showing up and representing the commissioners during that symposium. Our goal is to create, to have another symposium on a different side of town, just to allow other individuals to engage in that conversation. We are looking at Morgan State University as a possible location for that next symposium. So we are working with them to identify an appropriate date and time for that next symposium, and we'll keep you all updated as we get more information about that. Our budget hearings are completed, right? We've completed our budget hearings for the House and the Senate. So I do definitely want to thank Glendora, Spencer, and Nicolette, and our brand new Deputy Director, Yolanda Saunier, who participated in those budget hearings and helped answer questions and provide the legislature with the information that was requested. So I definitely want to thank them for their support through getting us through yet another budget hearing session. Nicolette has followed up with some of the questions that were coming from the House side in reference to some fiscal questions that they had, but she has provided them all the information that they've requested. So for us, we are completely done with our budget hearings. Again, it appeared to be very positive. Most of the questions that came from the House side were around the allocation of those 15 pens potentially, and the need to have pens allocated to education outreach versus investigation. So we kind of did go through that conversation with those on the House side and really explain how, as we move forward, we have to be more proactive than reactive. And part of allocating some of those pens or education outreach allows us to be a more proactive agency. Also allows us to address the need that so many individuals really don't know what their rights are or who to go to if their rights are violated. So those pens going to education outreach are critical to the mission of the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. So, and we thought that landed pretty well. We had no follow-up questions pertaining to that. So, but just wanted to kind of update you all in reference to where we are with that. We did have the opportunity to be invited and attend the State of the State address. So that was a great experience for our agency. Again, the main theme around, we're thinking about the State of the State really is about confronting conflict with courage. That is the messaging that you'll hear coming from the administration. That is the messaging that the administration is asking all the agencies to also uplift and push out as well. So you'll begin to see some of our messaging kind of hashtagging that, confronting conflict with courage. So just that you all know where it came from. It is the messaging that the administration is asking that is kind of consistent across the board, that we all begin to use that language kind of in these dark times moving forward. We also attended our first cabinet meeting. So we were invited to attend the most recent cabinet meeting. So we had the opportunity to attend and engage the other secretaries during that cabinet meeting. The gist of that meeting really was around the executive orders, which we've all kind of talked about indirectly one way or another. They also talked about the impact of the federal freeze to the state as a whole, right? So there is a significant concern that if the federal administration does freeze federal dollars, what that will look like for the state budget. We all know that right now we're in a $3 billion deficit from a budgetary standpoint from the state as a whole. Any potential federal freeze could impact us upwards to about $2 billion additional dollars from a deficit standpoint. And that would really be detrimental to the budget moving forward. So they are keeping their eyes on that. They've asked all agencies to identify their federal impact should there be a freeze. So Nicolette is working with the administration to highlight for them what our deficit would be from a federal fund standpoint if those federal funds were frozen, to provide that to the administration. In the event, as I mentioned earlier, there's a need for us to submit a supplemental in the event that happens. But to be honest, in the event that would happen, all state agencies would be submitting supplementals. And it would be interesting to see how the state would handle that, because that would put us in, again, a significant deficit, even with the current budget as it's allocated right now. We also had the opportunity to meet with the members of MARA, got together to talk about, as agencies, what can we do to help each other navigate through these challenging times. We talked about strategies and best practices. We talked about creating more consistency throughout the state, whether that's through SOPs or procedures, so that all of our agencies are investigating cases, utilizing our enforcement efforts in more of a consistent manner. So that conversation is to be continued. The leaders of all the local agencies are continuing to get together to kind of further that conversation moving forward. So we do think it's important for us to figure out how do we provide resources for each other and support for each other during these challenging times. A lot of the most of the local agencies are really looking to us as the state agency to be the voice for the human and civil rights agencies throughout the state. And we are committed to doing that in a very strategic and targeted way as we continue to move forward. So with that, I think the most important highlight for me in my report is that we do have our newly appointed Deputy Director, Yolanda Sonier, who is in my office with me today because she's having some tech issues. And we are excited about having her. She's taken the opportunity to kind of meet with staff, go through some of our current processes and kind of determine how we can be more efficient. So I've told her that she's got a clean slate, whatever she needs to do. Then, the floor is hers to do what she thinks she needs to do to make us be more efficient in the great work that we do. So we are all excited about having her. I know she's probably been in a million meetings since she started, because I think we had her working on day. Actually, I think she attended an event on day one for us. So she has definitely hit the ground running, and we are appreciative to have her being a part of staff. So next month she will be delivering her report to you all, and she looks forward to doing so. But with that being said, if there are any questions for me, I will take them at this time. Seeing none, it looks like I will pass it on to Glendora. It's only a couple of us, Glendora, so you're next. You're on mute too, Glendora.
Okay, good morning, everyone. You have my report for last month. It's legislative time, and things are beginning to pick up. We're probably going to hit 3,000 bills this year, the way it's looking, because it's already over 2,000 bills that have been filed. There are a couple of bills that we are concerned about. One in particular that we will discuss when we have our meeting on Thursday, because we are doing some reconnaissance work with some calls and getting some more information so that I can share that with you when we have our call on Thursday. I would like a few minutes of an executive session just to make you aware of a few lawsuits that have been filed against us in federal court, and what the status of those few are. And other than that, that is my report. If there are any questions from the written report or any other questions, I'll be happy to. All right. I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Madam Chair, that is all for our reports. We do have, again, Nicolette and Candace are in leadership meetings. If there is any questions though about the education outreach report or the fiscal report, I will be happy to take those at this time. If anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions? I didn't have any.
Seeing none, the floor is yours, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, sorry, again, one too many screens and open all at the same time. So we've been talking about old and new business. Obviously, the new business is the ongoing legislative initiatives that are coming out. We have those calls on Thursday. Everyone is always encouraged to attend as possible. If for whatever reason you are unable to attend, if you have comments, questions, or concerns, submit them in writing. You know, like don't feel like if you're not there that you have in some way lost your voice. So that way we can at least have those conversations. Thank you everybody for jumping on when those things come up that can't wait for Thursday. Appreciate it very much. And then is there any other old business or new business that anyone would like to bring to the floor? I think everybody's just a little shell shocked this week. Prepping for bad weather.
Sure, that's why we're shell shocked.
We're gonna go with that one today.
Okay.
Magdalena, it looks like you're speaking, but I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? No?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay. As guidance comes out from the commission, as you mentioned, Cleveland, and you also rephrased Stephanie, these are very challenging times for many. And there are a lot of people that are looking for anything that can make them feel better, feel more welcome in this country. I heard horrible stories of kids not even being sent to school because they are afraid that they're going to snatch them or get to the parents and so on. So anything and guidance that you put in the website on about this, let us know so that we can share with others.
We definitely will. I think, and we should, and I'll double check with Spencer just to make sure all commissioners should be on our listserv. So all of the press releases that we send out, you all should be receiving them through the listserv. If you're not receiving them, though, we'll definitely check and make sure that we have all of the updated information for our commissioners. And what we can also do is just send a separate email to you all when we do send those press releases or statements out, so that you all have it firsthand via email. So we can make sure we do that for you, Commissioner Magdalena.
And then all those statements and guidance are easily accessible on the website as well, because I can point people to the website.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you all think of something, again, if there's something that you all think of as a group that, hey, we need to address this, or, again, you all as a group have the ability to be able to do that. I would ask that you all reach out to Madam Chair, because you all do have the opportunity to address that as well. If there is something that as a body, you all would like to address directly, you all do have the authority to be able to do that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, any ideas or thoughts, please send them. I think collectively we're able to be more cognizant of what's going on and the impact on the community than we are individually. So please share. Okay, anything else? Hearing none. Glendora, as I recall, you wanted an executive session?
Yes, just to update you on litigation.
Give me a moment so I can take the recording down.
I was just gonna say, do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. I heard a second.
Aye.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.